All right, everyone, welcome back to our Uncut Gems podcast. As you know, Uncut Gems provides insights on major emerging narratives and also the upcoming key projects. And we deliver that based on valuable one-of-a-kind discussions with pioneering minds. And as such, we are super thrilled to have RJ, who is co-founder from Aligned, and also Diego Kingston, who is co-founder and head of research of Aligned, with us today. Both are driving forces behind the project Aligned, which is a fascinating project aiming to accelerate Ethereum's rollup-centric roadmap with cheap proof verification and lower latencies. Basically, what that means we will explore within today's episode, and also what design space this opens up as we get cheap proof verification from Aligned. So, and with that, welcome from my side, RJ, and Diego. Nice to have you on the show.
Thanks a lot for having us here. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for having us. We're super excited to share more about what we're doing.
Awesome. So from my side, I think we should kick things off with some semantics. And I'm referring to the very name of your project, which is Aligned. And that word kind of carries significant meaning in our industry. So there's a very broad spectrum building in our space, ranging from multi-chain strategies to also creating sovereign approaches. I would be keen to know, by your design decision to align so closely with Ethereum, what's the background of it? Maybe you could elaborate on the reasoning behind that choice. What does it mean to be aligned with Ethereum in your view, and how does this alignment shape your project's goals and design decisions? Maybe starting with RJ for that question.
Yeah. So why are we aligned with Ethereum? Is because we believe it has the best properties to actually become the main hub for the future of finance. So today what we see is that from a business perspective or a product perspective, we believe Ethereum is kind of like New York. And it has these great properties, like it's decentralized, has a lot of liquidity, it has a great community ecosystem, but it needs a few improvements. So our goal is accelerate Ethereum so we can go faster to a future where Ethereum is actually the best settlement layer. And for that, what we believe is that because of all the work we have done in the past, Aligned is a spin-off of an engineering company that works across many L2s and many CK projects, we realize there's a problem. Ethereum is great, and it's the most popular CK verifier, but it needs a few improvements in order to be 100 times better. Because we need it to be 100 times better so we can have more rollups, more CK applications, and we can unlock more use cases for people. So for us, aligning with Ethereum means helping Ethereum become the best version that it can possibly be by building new technology around Ethereum. So our goal is to make this happen now and not in the next 10 years. So that's why we say we accelerate Ethereum, and that's why we're building here. And also from a design perspective, by building on top of Ethereum, you have a lot of advantages. You already have a lot of liquidity, you already have a lot of tooling, and you gain a lot of the ecosystem of developers and community of people that want to build on top of Ethereum. So if you want to build something like what we're building as a new L1, you will encounter a lot of problems. A few of them are bootstrapping a new network, trying to find users or developers that want to build on top of you, and actually building a decentralized network. And thankfully, now we have the right tools to actually build new features and new products on top of Ethereum while actually leveraging all of its advantages and not having to build on our own. So the meme actually has a lot of value behind it, is that we actually believe this is the best way to build stuff.
Yeah, I guess more great take, by the way. And Wolfgang and me, I guess both agree. And also many developers choose the same kind of ecosystem for the very same reasons, and rightfully so. I mean, you just outlined we have these very sustained network effects with Ethereum and liquidity, and then there are so many other metrics which are really appealing to many developers, but also users. You mentioned a decentralized network, and this is kind of important because there's two kind of technology aspects that now allow us to basically come closer to the scaling endgame, which is data availability sampling, but also validity proofs, where kind of aligned is. So both technologies become more and more mainstream, allowing unmatched efficiency. And on the CK side in particular, there's substantial progress when we think about all of these new CK general purpose VMs, and also just the very proving itself, bringing us again closer to the end game for sufficiently decentralized distributed systems that, at least to me importantly, can also be verified and run on consumer hardware, right? So there is not this huge kind of requirement of having crazy powerful machines. Diego, maybe in an explain like I'm five fashion, could you please guide us through the world of CK and validity proofs? Why, in your view, is it such a breakthrough primitive? And what does it actually enable? Also, outside of succinctness and validity proofs, basically, maybe you can also shine some light on the privacy features as well.
Awesome. So the first thing we have to understand is where they fit in. And it is very powerful in the context of blockchains. Basically, you can think of blockchains as verifiable computers. Okay, I want to agree with other people I don't trust that something happened. And the way I can do it is just by running the computations by myself. The others run the computations. And if we all get the same result, or a majority gets the same result, we say, okay, this happened and this is valid. The only problem with that is that things don't scale properly as you do in a distributed computer. In general, you would expect that if you add more computers, you get more computing power. The problem is each computer has to re-execute things, and therefore it is bottlenecked by the less powerful devices. Okay, and that is a way of having verification. That the most simple thing is I just rerun the program and I get this like trivial proof that you did it right. Now, in the late 80s and beginning of the 90s, there was this groundbreaking paper explaining the consequences of having what we call logarithmic verification. So the idea is that we can create a proof that you can verify much faster than re-executing, okay? It takes logarithmic, so imagine that, for example, you have to, I don't know, run a computation for 1,000,000 steps. This means you can verify it maybe in the logarithm of that or logarithm square or whatever, but this means maybe 400, 1,000. So what this enables is, for example, that a very weak device can control what many supercomputers are doing because of this logarithmic scaling. Okay, so now we have something very interesting that instead of rerunning computations, we can submit these very short proofs, and verifying these short proofs is much faster than re-executing. You can delegate execution to somebody else, and then he submits the proof, and you check it. That is the part where succinctness kicks in. You get this very nice scaling, but it doesn't end there, because with these tools, what you can prove is any computation. In particular, what you can do is prove that you verified proofs, creating what we call a recursive proof. So in that way, maybe we have like 10 proofs, and we create a proof that we verified those 10 proofs. And that proof, when we verify it, attests to the validity of the 10 proofs. So what you can do then is like bundle many proofs together or many computations together and just verify one. Okay, so then you get like this massive scaling. That's like the part that, for example, Ethereum likes most, because it helps delegate execution somewhere else, and then we can just verify proof. Now, there are obviously some concerns, because having all your information public can lead to, I don't know, leaking sensitive data for you. So in this original paper of 1985 by Goldwasser, Micali, and Rakov, what they introduced are what we call zero-knowledge proofs, where I can basically prove to you some statement without revealing a secret or some secret. For example, I could show you that I know the solution to a Sudoku, without actually giving you the solution. And you are convinced that I did that. And a simple example where you have that is, for example, when you use Schnorr signatures. Schnorr signatures are a protocol where you are showing that, in fact, you know the secret key that you can sign without revealing what's the secret key. So I can convince you that I have the secret key without revealing which one is it. So, of course, CK has these applications. You can do like many things depending on whether you want to focus more on privacy or scaling. Of course, the good thing is you don't have to sacrifice like scalability for privacy. We have a variety of constructions. You have like Starks, Narks based on different proof systems. And we are getting more and more efficient constructions. So we can expect that these applications will become like default because it's becoming like easier to prove things and to use CK without actually not knowing how it works under the hood. So if like creating CK applications has like no overhead over doing like ordinary application, maybe CK will be the default. Of course, to solve that, first we need to remove some of the bottlenecks. And luckily with these new VMs, things are getting like increasingly easier for developers.
All right. Okay. So I think now we have all the ingredients to start talking more in detail about aligned. CK proofs are obviously very important for Ethereum, and we have Validity rollups, CK rollups working today. They send the proof to Ethereum, to a validating bridge maybe, and the CK proof is verified, and everyone is happy. So why do we need aligned? What is the problem that aligned is solving? How is it improving this status quo? I will say that I'm very excited about the project because I like the modular thesis. So I want to see how much we can move as many layers as possible off-chain to find what is the really core of decentralized trust that is needed in mainnet and what can be moved off-chain. So yeah, I guess I spoiled it a little bit, but what does it mean to be a verification layer in the modular thesis, and what are the problems solved by aligned? If you can expand on that, maybe RJ, you want to start?
Yeah, I will first give probably the intuition of why we're building this new category, maybe, or where the problem comes from. And Diego, if you want, you can dive into more of the details of how it works and what exactly how we do it. So to put in a very simple term, now that you just mentioned the modular thesis, what we're doing, we're solving a similar problem that Celeste is solving for data availability, but we're doing for CK. Meaning, we believe that by building a new infrastructure designed with the sole purpose of solving or improving one of the features of a blockchain, we can actually get much more scalable and performant infrastructure for building blockchains or rollups. So, in particular, what we believe or we see is that Ethereum is a great verifier, is the most popular one, but it has this problem that it wasn't designed for verification of zero-knowledge proofs in particular. It's a general purpose VM. So what we realize is, okay, actually what will happen in the future when we have thousands of rollups or sticky applications, people wanting to build and verify the proof on Ethereum, the bottleneck is going to be Ethereum. So we have a fixed amount of proofs that actually Ethereum can verify per block. So what we actually need to unlock new potential and have thousands of rollups in the future is a new layer where we can actually verify a lot of proofs per second, thousands of proofs per second, without any limitations. So the only way to do this is by building something from scratch with this purpose in particular. So what we built is this new infrastructure that we call a CK verification layer, where the only thing we do is receive proofs from different proof systems, verify them, and then post the results of Ethereum. This is the best way we found where we can actually have cheap and very fast verification so more people can start using this tech. Because something that is important from the modular thesis that we're really excited about is we want to give more options to developers. So it's not only building more infrastructure for them to decide which one they want to use, but it's also important to lower operational costs so more people can start using and experimenting with this. In very rough numbers, if you want to run a CK rollup today, you need millions of dollars. In some cases, depending on which stack you use, you spend more money on verification costs than actually proving costs. And provers are getting better. That's something good. So that means the main bottleneck next for the adoption of this tech is going to be in the verification, that is the execution on Ethereum, right? So by using something that is specialized on verification, we can cut the cost at least more than 90%, depending on which proving system that we're comparing.
Okay. So are these very high verification costs also for proving systems for which Ethereum has precompiles or for custom proving systems? Because that's making a difference for sure.
For both, for both in particular, is way more expensive to those who are new, that were not designed or using the pre-compose of Ethereum. Diego, you have some of the numbers in.
Yeah, so to get an idea, to verify a gross 16 proof, it costs around 250K gas. And if you want to use something like Starks, it's way over $1 million. Okay. If you want to use other things that don't use precompiles or depend on, for example, nice primitives that are good for some ticket properties, then costs can even be too high to be verifiable in Ethereum. Okay. So what we need is something that removes some of these constraints and makes a verification really cheap. And besides, we know we are getting a lot of developments in CK technologies, and we can't wait until we add precompiles to be able to use them if they have like very nice properties. So having this easily updatable verification layer is crucial to also be able to test new technology and also like open the game for developers. So for example, if you want to do a CKML application, maybe there is a proof system that is really good for you, but it's not a cheap one in Ethereum. So by doing this, what we are doing is giving freedom back to developers. Choose whatever you want, because verifying in aligned is almost the same. Whether it's Groth 16, Starks, it's the same.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. And I understand Ethereum is just too slow in adding new precompiles because I guess you can only have them every major upgrade. And even then, I guess it's hard to decide which ones should be prioritized and which not. So it's very, very good that we have a more open modular layer for verification that can really enhance Ethereum in this way. So yeah, big fan.
Something else to add is, even if we have new precompiles, we will still always be more performant. We're adding a new performance level to Ethereum with this by natively running the verifiers on a separate network.
Absolutely clear.
Nice. I mean, overall, this, like, as you outlined, this easily updatable verification layer, along with that, then also having a substantial decrease in cost and latency is a super compelling story, in my opinion. I would like to now dive into Align's architecture. How do you make that actually possible? So maybe we start with the fast mode, and I would like you, maybe Diego, to guide us through how does Aligned work under the hood, and maybe guide us through the flow from actually sending a proof to eventually posting the results to Ethereum, and maybe also highlight some of the different positions within the tech stack, such as the AWS operators or light clients and so forth.
Okay, so first I am going to explain it in a very easy way, and then dive into the details. But basically, the idea is you have like some of the operators, which you can think as notaries, and you go to each of them and you say, verify this. And of course, a notary, what it does is verifies that everything is right, sign. And so you get like different notaries saying, this is okay, this is okay, this is okay. The majority says it's okay, so it should be okay. So basically what you're building is something like that. So how does it work? You suppose that you want to verify your proof in Aligned. So you as a user have your CLI and you send your proof, you interact what we call the verifier task batcher. Why do we have this batcher? Just to create like a huge task containing several proofs and to split the cost of that verification between the different proofs. So you amortize. Basically, the cost that you get is the cost of creating the task plus the cost of the operators verifying divided by the number of proofs. And then you have a written cost. Okay, that's per proof. So the task batcher, what it gets is different tasks, and it is going to create what we call the batch. So it creates a Merkle tree structure containing the proof, the public input, the proof system, maybe the address of the sender, and it posts the root to Ethereum and stores all the relevant data in a data service. Okay, so now what we have are the operators of Align that we obtain via restaking. Okay, and they get that there is a new proof, so a new task. So what they do is then they download the proofs and all the information, and they run the verification code for each proof. It is important to say that the batch is not homogeneous. You can have proofs from different proof systems, proof sizes. You just need that the code of the verifier is in aligned to be able to verify, but that's the only thing. And so what they do is they check all the proofs, and if all the proofs are valid, what they do is they sign a message with the root and send it to the aggregator. The aggregator checks that we get the quorum, and if we have the quorum, then it sends the aggregated BLS signature to Ethereum where it is verified, and therefore we update the state of that batch to verified. And then the task batcher, what it sends you is a file containing basically the authentication path to show that your proof has been included in the batch. Okay, and so then you can consume the result in a line. Okay, the advantage of this is we are running the native verification code. So we are not running on top of TVM. We are not constrained by gas. And the good thing is we can optimize the verification code for speed. So we can get a much higher throughput than you would get in Ethereum. You can also leverage parallelization. So this mode is particularly good for having like high throughput and low latency and very low cost, because you don't have to do anything to your proof. You just get your proof from whatever like prover you're using and you send it to Align. So that's basically how it works, or what we call the fast mode. I don't know, RJ, if you want to add something.
I think it was pretty clear. Maybe to add something more of why we are building it this way, we decided to build this first product because we believe a lot of the applications we are seeing of people actually want to build are either using new proving systems that are extremely expensive to use today, or they need applications with low latency. And this first product we're building, the FastABS, is the one that offers both of them. We already integrated SP1 from Success Labs, Rig 0, and Growth 16 from GNARC. So we're offering a bunch of them, and all of the people we have been speaking with that want to build on top of us, they have the same problem. Either they don't have a solution to actually verify those proofs today if they're using something new that is cheap, and they don't have access to something that is low latency in case they can use another alternative. And so with this, you offer a complete stack with something that was not available before.
I understand. Yeah, thanks for the insights.
Cool. So, if I understand right, this is extremely cheap because all you're asking to Ethereum is to verify a BLS signature. So this is super cheap, very efficient because you can aggregate all these proofs. But yeah, at the end of the day, we are adding some additional trust assumption. Like it's not as secure as a verified smart contract on Ethereum because we are trusting basically the operators. And there is some cryptoeconomic security here introduced by Restaking, and we'll talk more about that. But first, I want to know more about the slow mode, because the slow mode, we talked about the fast mode, this was the fast mode, and the slow mode will be more expensive, but without this trust assumption on the operators. Is that right? And let's start from how the slow mode works first.
Okay, so then the basic idea of the slow mode or aggregation mode is performing recursive proving to aggregate many proofs together and just verify the final proof. So in general, we use this recursive verification that I talked in the beginning. So you can prove that you verified, for example, 2 proofs, and create like that a binary structure where you started with n proofs, and then you get n over 2 proofs that show that each of the 2 proofs below it are valid, and you can continue until you get this one final proof. Okay? The only problem with a recursive proof verification is that you have to prove the verification of 2 proofs, and in general that involve some expensive computations, because maybe you have to do expensive field emulation, or you have to compute lots of hashes if you are using Starks. But you have to also bear in mind that we are using like different proof systems. So in general, the aggregation mode would work first by transforming all the proofs to a common proof system, for example, Starks. And you do that with recursive proving. So you can use recursive proving to change like the proof system. And then you do like this binary reduction, maybe using Starks because it's easier. They have like fast recursion and you can do it much easily than other strategies. And then maybe in a final step, when you get the last proof, if you want to reduce the on-chain cost, you have to wrap it into some cost-effective proof system in Ethereum, like, for example, along with KCG. And then you post that proof to Ethereum. Ethereum verifies it like any other proof. And if the proof is valid, then it attests to the validity of all the original proofs. But the problem is you have to do all these very expensive computations. And even though provers have gotten like way faster, it's still at a lot of latency, okay? And maybe you cannot aggregate as easily or divide the cost as easily as we do with the fast mode. But of course, there you get like the full security of Ethereum because it's verified directly in Ethereum.
I still have a question on the slow mode. So I guess this is still much cheaper than verifying all the proofs, because here we are verifying only the aggregated proof at the end of the day. But what we're verifying basically is the fact that some verified codes were executed correctly, right? So what is still missing to me that I don't understand is, can the validators or the operators still somewhat collude and use like modified version of the verifiers and basically just give a verifier that is always saying that the execution is correct? Like, how would the Ethereum smart contract that is verifying the aggregated proof know that there was this kind of attack? Is there a possible attack vector there?
No, because really the last proof, what it gives you is, if done properly, attests to the validity of all the underlying proof. Of course, you also have to take into account that you have like the public input and other information. So it basically, to be able to attack this, you would have like a malicious prover generate a fake proof. And it is very unlikely that he will be able to do this because really breaking proof system is like really hard. So I think you wouldn't have like a problem. You have also the proofs that show that in fact verifying these aggregated proofs implies that all the underlying proofs are valid. Of course, you have to use information that you executed like the correct verification code, okay? And that's part, for example, of the input that you have to provide to the verifier. Okay, so for example, if you want to run with something like RISC-0 or SP1, when you run something, you have to specify the ELF file, and that corresponds to the verifier. So you can easily check if somebody changed the code of the verifier. So it's not something that you can do pretty easily. But of course, you have you have the problem of extra latency.
Oh, that's clear. But at the end of the day, we can say that basically we are not adding trust assumptions basically on the operators using different verifier codes, right? Which is really, really good. So I see this trade-off here as extremely powerful. And different applications will have different reasons to choose fast or slow mode.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I would have a follow-up question, because I also think it's very elegant to provide both kind of solutions to the user or customer. But maybe you could elaborate a little bit on how users might choose between these two models, and maybe you even have some concrete examples of when one might be preferable to the other. Like, when do I choose the fast, and when or which projects would go for the slow, which projects would go for the fast verification? What do you think?
It will depend a lot on the use case of each one of them. I wouldn't put each category of CK applications to one of the two slow modes. What I mean by this is, like with normal rollups that we have today, some people, even if they're building a rollup, they decide to be a Validium because of cost. Maybe for their app chain where they're using all the NFTs, they don't want to pay for the full data availability cost of using blobs on Ethereum. They just would rather use Celestia, or in the future, Avail or IGNTA. I think with CK rollups, it will be exactly the same. Some of them, for some reasons, they would rather have the full economic security of Ethereum with some latency cost for sure. I'm actually still probably paying more than using something that is faster and cheaper, but is using a subset of the economic security. And in particular, for things that are more like interoperability, that's where we see a clear advantage of the fast mode compared to the slow mode, or where I think most people will choose the fast mode over the slow mode. Why? Because when you are an interoperable protocol, latency is super important. What you want is, if you're breaching, allowing people to move money extremely fast. But by offering the two options, and in the future it will be, once the protocol is ready with both of them, you will be able to easily choose when to use the fast mode or when to use the slow mode, depending on each part of your protocol. Because as we mentioned, we want to give developers more options. So maybe for one protocol, you want to use the two modes depending on each situation. For example, if you want to move, I don't know, $1 billion, maybe you say, okay, I would rather wait more and use the slow mode than using the transactions that are for thousands of dollars on the fast mode. And that will be up to the developer. From what we're seeing is, most people actually for now are interested in the fast mode because there's a very big new market of applications that are not live yet that really need to get into production quickly. And the fast mode allows them to actually start using these new CKVMs in a very cost-effective manner that wasn't possible before. So I believe we'll see many new categories of applications we haven't seen that are going to start making decisions we're not expecting. And maybe they start building hybrid kind of applications using both of them. But I wouldn't, we cannot put only one category with one type of mode yet. I think it's too early to tell the inclinations of each one of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess time will tell then at some months down the road, maybe more customers will use the slow mode. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, because there are also compelling arguments to use the slow mode and proof aggregation, right? I would like to spend more time on kind of the restaking aspect, because it's one of the key aspects and most fascinating aspects of Align's design decision. So I would like to discuss a little bit, what is your current target on how many validators and operators would you like to attract? Maybe there's a ballpark you are thinking about. What kind of economic security does Aligned need or strive for? And then also, what is the effect then of more stake coming into the ecosystem? And how do the slashing conditions in Aligned look like in more detail?
Yes, we currently have 20 operators in testnet. We know that with 20 operators, we could go live in mainnet, but our goal is to have at least 100 operators for many reasons. One of them is that our design is simple and the software that needs to be run in this decentralized network is quite lightweight. That means we can actually have a very high number of people participating in the protocol running hardware. And because the only thing we do is verifying proofs. There's nothing very complicated. It's easy for operators to check the computation we're actually doing, and we don't have some long tail kind of computation effects that could damage their operations. And we have been studying some ABSs, and most of them are targeting around $1 billion in stake. Like most of the ABSs are running today have those numbers. We believe we need at least 1 billion, but we know we can get to 3 or 4 billion, of course, depending on some market conditions, because things like restaking also depend on some of the incentives that already exist and what happens with the market. But with those numbers, we believe we can be, we will be competing in economic security when a bunch of Alted ones that are already offering very interesting features in the modular world. So with that, we should be able to start offering something attractive to developers.
Perfect. So regarding slashing, it's not fully active in EigenLayer. So we cannot add that yet, but
Of course, yeah.
we had like some ideas on what to do. Luckily, the operators cannot do like many things. They can either say that, for example, a false proof is true, or that a true proof is false. So the first idea towards slashing is having subjective slashing. So if somebody stays in the minority, okay, we assume that, of course, he behaved like maliciously, and then he's subject to slashing. But the idea is then to have objective slashing. So the good thing is that we are working with proofs. And so what we could do, if there is a doubt or anything, we could trigger the verification in Ethereum of the proof, okay? And so if Ethereum then says, no, this is true, and the majority voted for false, okay, they get slashed much easily. Of course, there is one thing that not all proofs are like easily verifiable in Ethereum. They are sometimes expensive. What you can do then is maybe do like some wrapping to transform that proof into a more cost-effective proof in Ethereum and then verify it. So we have these two approaches towards slashing.
That's cool, and that also makes sense to basically, let's say in the worst case, fall back to just verifying it directly on Ethereum. Very interesting.
I would like to talk more about proving systems and innovation, because we said, and it's true, one of the strengths of the project is that it supports many proving systems, not just the ones that have been selected for pre-compilation Ethereum, but pretty much all the main proving systems are supported by verification layer, by aligned, and more will come. So that's a very good thing. You're able to integrate more proving systems as innovation comes. They will be supported by aligned. My question is, do you have ways to prioritize still? And also, where do you think we are in the innovation curve? Like, we have many more proving systems coming. There is a real proliferation. Will there be some kind of ossification at some point, like 2 or 3 winners among all these proving systems? And will there still be some trade-offs and preferences, like reasons for having 2, 3 winners rather than only one? Where are we in this innovation curve in European? I think aligned will still be important eventually, even if we have only one winner, because we can move verification off-chain. There's still always that reason to exist. But yeah, if you can comment in general on innovation and how you approach this.
Okay, so in the last few years, we've seen like very huge advances in proof systems. And we have like several ones that are like favored in Ethereum, okay, because they offer like very nice properties. But of course, we've seen like also many new technologies coming out that maybe have their own niche where they excel. I don't think maybe we will have like a clear winner, but we've seen that, for example, hash-based proof systems, like for example, Starks with Fry or Binius, are gaining the upper hand in CKVMs. And that is because of several advantages: that you don't have a trusted setup, which is something really good. You get to choose your field, and you make like recursion really easy. We still have to see like more improvements. We've seen that, for example, lookup arguments are getting way better. We have other strategies like circle starks. Maybe we can still improve on the protocols, but I don't think we will have like a clear winner. Perhaps at least for, I don't know, if you want maybe privacy, then maybe some proof systems, it's easier to add privacy than in others. Um, and then maybe for some applications, it will make sense to use some other strategies, okay? But the good thing is that no matter what proof system you have, it's very easy to incorporate them in Aligned. We just need like the native verifier, the verifier provided with the library, and the operators then just have to run that. So it's very easy, and we've seen the technology mature a lot. It's way easier than it was like several years ago. I remember that in 2022, people were still like trying to write circuits with Sercom and all that, and now we have these VMs where you can write code, like ordinary code, and get things proven, even if you don't like fully understand how it works under the hood. But it's like way easier. And as to how we can prioritize and all that, I think RJ maybe has some thoughts on that.
Yes, it's actually a very complicated discussion that we have internally. How do we prioritize each proving system? What will happen in the future? Yesterday, we had some of these conversations with one of our engineers. Why? Because for two reasons. One of them is today we already have a world of CK applications, right? And that looks in this way where we have many different type of proving systems. Each application uses a different one. And in the case if it uses Halo 2, they use different forks. Like it's very fragmented and very diverse. We could take the approach of integrating all of the ones who already exist today that maybe don't have systems even in production. So that's one of the things we're discussing. Which one of all of these that exist today and have like interesting applications should we integrate? But at the same time, we have this tension of, okay, if we start integrating them, but we know that the trend is using more CKVMs, like proving Rust is getting really good. And one of the things that we actually believe a lot is, as Diego mentioned, people will just code in something where they can normally code, like Rust, that is easy to maintain, easy to audit, easy to hire developers, even though they don't know what they're using underneath. And if that's the case, maybe in the future we don't need to integrate hundreds of proving systems. We will just have a few of them. Our approach is we don't know, to be honest. We don't know which one is going to win, if there will be one, if there will be multiple. What we know is that we're going to offer whatever is best or whatever is the developers are asking today, because we have designed these systems so it's easy to integrate new proving systems, and it's easy to build applications on top of us and change your proving system in the future. Like if you're using something today and you don't know exactly what we're going to use in the next year, because CK improves so fast that maybe you jump onto a new proving system, or maybe the people who are building your CKVM change a few things, Align is probably the best place, because you will just use the same API, the same interface, the same smart contracts. The only thing that will change is where you generate the proofs and how you make the request to us, saying, hey, this is the type of proof I want to verify. So in summary, we don't know. What we do know is that more people are going to use CK because we firmly believe that the future is proving Rust in many cases. Of course, there will be exceptions, but that's the trend we have been noticing. We have a hackathon that's called the Lambda Hack Week next week, and we notice a lot of people who are really interested in building applications that they were not part of CK before. They just want to actually create provable applications, and they're going to use CK VMs. And for us, that's really exciting because that's actually making the market bigger. At the same time, I think Align will be an interesting study case of which of the proving systems are more demanded, so we can understand better where the future is headed. Because we're accelerating Ethereum, at the same time we're accelerating the price discovery of these proving systems. I think we will probably see in 1 year a clear trend.
Yeah, that's true. Because basically you are decoupling the demand and isolating it and making it very, very clear what the market wants. I have another quick question on innovation. When we talk about proving, we hear a lot about hardware specialization for proving, like GPUs, FPGAs, ASICs. Now, it's clear that verification by definition is much cheaper or anyway easier from a computational point of view. But are there already efforts on specialized hardware for verification? When you say you run the code natively, is there already some project also trying to specialize in hardware for verification?
Well, many of the operations you have to do in verification are actually the same operations you do in proving. So in the case of hash-based proving systems, you have like lots of field operations and hashes. And so if you get like improvements in proving technology, for example, you can compute the Poseidon hash like much faster. Of course, then verification also becomes much faster. The same happens with elliptic curve-based proof systems. You have to do maybe some small scalar multiplication, but if a scalar multiplication is like faster, of course, then you have an improvement there. Of course, maybe you see the most impact in proving because you have this exponential gap. Proving is exponentially more expensive than verification, but we'll see that, for example, Circle Starks is making computations with like much faster because you use like faster fields, but that also translates directly to the verification. So in that sense, we will be benefited by that, but maybe you don't see as much as you get with proving. But of course, if you needed like to have like higher throughput in verification, of course, you could leverage a bit of that.
But for now, the hardware requirements for the operators are expected to be like standard consumer, like high-end laptop, maybe something like that, not more.
Yeah, in the testnet is we're using computers with 16 cores, I believe, and or 32 cores, sorry, and 16 of RAM. And so the hardware requirements are not that high. Running and operating this, if you're using a bare metal server, should be $100, $150 per month. Of course, it depends where you run your infra.
And you get a very high throughput with that machine. We tried in testnet, and you can get, without even like trying very hard, like 2,500 proofs per second. Compare that to Ethereum, where you have like 10 per second, and you have there the difference. And it was like not even trying hard. Of course, then there are like some things we have to do to unlock that power, because if you want to like verify or to check that all your proofs are included and you have like huge batches, then it's very costly. You collapse Ethereum, but you have like a huge potential. Now that is thanks to verification being really fast. Most proof systems can be verified in around 1 millisecond, for example, or less. Add parallelization and other advantages, and you get like very high numbers.
And we know, we haven't done the test, but we know if we put bigger machines in the future, we can have a throughput that is way higher. But the problem, as Diego mentioned, it will always be Ethereum, right? If you want to actually post the results on Ethereum, that's going to be your upper bound of how many proofs you can actually submit. But maybe in the future, we'll see some applications that just consume the result directly from a line without waiting for Ethereum. That's something that we will explore probably in the future. Maybe for some protocols that's interesting. For now, we're only focused on doing the verification off chain and posting the result on a smart contract on Ethereum. Maybe in the future, we can explore some options where you can actually benefit from the higher throughput because you don't have Ethereum as a bottleneck for posting the results.
That sounds really exciting. Also, I mean, even if it's just testnet currently, but it's also very reasonable hardware specs, in my opinion. Very impressive results so far. And just to go back to the discussion before, I think when it comes to proving systems, it's also actually it's so hard to pick a winner right now, and there's no need to do that because there's so many promising teams building. Therefore, I really like your approach of kind of allowing or fostering a more diverse ecosystem of these proving systems, and therefore allowing the space kind of to figure out better what system is best. And then the throughput numbers you mentioned and you also shared publicly, I think are truly impressive with, I think 300 proofs per second, or as you outlined, like even 10,000 proofs when you leverage parallelization. Especially compared to Ethereum, Ethereum's capacity of let's say just 10, like basically a substantial increase in throughput. And with that throughput, what boggles me right now is basically like, in your opinion, what does that open up, this kind of massive increase in throughput, especially as a user myself, witnessing the limitations of current blockchain system. I'm really excited about the possibilities that we have that we have with Aligned then, basically from fast bridging or on-chain gaming or verifiable machine learning. So I would be interested to get some perspective from you guys on how will that throughput basically change the landscape of zero-knowledge applications. And what are you most excited about this additional, let's say, design freedom?
I'm personally excited about something that it's not a particular use case or it's no particular use case or product. What I'm excited is that by offering actually a high throughput and also lowering a lot the costs, I believe we'll get to the point where a college student will be able to create a weird meme chain application on a weekend or a brand new verifiable application and just launch it and have new use cases that we haven't seen. Because for now, we have been limited a lot on the product side because in order to actually start building, you need to raise a lot of capital. So there wasn't a lot of options of how to actually start exploring or building new things because you couldn't take the risk because you could never get to the point of actually making something in mainland. So I'm particularly really excited about a future where anyone can start building these applications, having to worry about getting millions of dollars in the bank to start deploying and playing around.
Good one. What about you, Diego? Sharing that?
I agree with RJ. I think that this is kind of having like the broadband for CK because you are like massively increasing throughput while lowering costs. So then people will find a way to use this extra capacity. Of course, something that interests me a lot is, for example, the aspect of bridging. But also I think that an interesting use case is that you will also be able to, for example, suppose that you want to run something where you don't have a precompile in Ethereum and it is like super expensive. For example, say that you have like a Merkle tree using a hash function like Poseidon 2 or other thing where you don't have the precompile. Instead of like trying to write all your code in Solidity and all that, maybe what you can do is generate a zero-knowledge proof where you show, for example, that you have your leaf and your root, and the proof of the CK proof where you show that you had the authentication path and all that. And instead of like running all the hashing and all that, you can just verify the CK proof in aligned, and then use that result with the root and the other value just to prove that in fact it is included. So maybe you can like bypass the lack of precompiles by working around with CK. And if proving like CK is like very cheap and verification is cheap and fast, of course you get a way maybe to get around some of the limitations that you have in the EVM. So here you can start like using CK in a very like creative way and have these applications where you can lower the cost just by using different primitives or ideas. So I think that people knowing that they have high throughput and it's easy and they can create CK like writing like ordinary Rust code, they will come like with some amazing ideas. It's the same like with other applications that in the beginning you had to build all the tooling, understand lots of things, but then it's abstracted like a lot. For example, the same happens with AI. You don't have to maybe understand how neural networks work to be able to build something with AI right now. And that's because you've improved the technology a lot and you have a lot more tooling that you had before. So maybe it's way easier, and the same will happen, of course, with CK, I believe.
Well, nice. That was on cool two perspectives, which I guess make both of us rather bullish on Aligned.
Oh, yes,
Thanks.
very much. You know, to be clear, I really like what you're doing, and especially I like that you had, well, in my humble opinion, the right vision, because someone had to build this. We need a dedicated verification layer in a world in which we can prove or ZK prove any computation. There will be more and more demand, and I like what you're doing, because at least to my understanding, there is no other project working in this direction, or at least you're pioneering in this direction. And this brings me also to another question, because I expect to have more demand for verification, and for the same reason, I expect competition to rise. Like there will be maybe more verification layers. And so my question for you is, what would be your competitive advantage? And in general, what is the strategy to be the number one verification layer? What would define the number one verification layer? What are you optimizing for in the expectation of competition?
Yeah, there are a couple of things actually. I mean, right now, when we started building this wasn't a category at all. We had a few people trying to build a subset of the features we're building for specific use cases. Right now, we do have some people that, I mean, luckily they realized this is maybe the right vision to solve one of the biggest issues we had in CK, and many of them are building in different ecosystems, which we actually value a lot. I mean, it happens a lot with Celestia as well, with data availability, or with Eigen, right? This kind of very first category leaders starting creating something new that many people start building in different places, like in Bitcoin, or people are starting building like new interesting designs for L1s, which I think is better for everyone. But we have one very clear vision, I think, that makes us very different, and at the same time, we have some values we want to maintain long term. One of those things are that we want to build on Ethereum, because as we mentioned, our goal is to accelerate that the roadmap of Ethereum to make Ethereum be what it wants to be in 10 years, but today, because we are going to accelerate the exploration of secret proofs, because more people are going to be able to use this today. And I think some of the people who are exploring options in new L1s with some of the same features that we're offering will not be able to build this because they are completely isolated from the Ethereum ecosystem. And in our opinion, developers want to build on Ethereum today. The problem is they sometimes move to other places because they don't have the right tools. We believe that with what we are offering and things like EigenLayer, where more people are going to offer new services on top of Ethereum, Ethereum is going to be the main hub for developers. So that's something that we know from day one when we came up with the idea, and that we will always want to do. Ethereum is good from a business perspective because people want to build on top of Ethereum, and because Ethereum is New York. For us, Ethereum is the financial hub of crypto, and it's really hard to replicate that. even if Ethereum has a lot of problems, whatever,
Mm.
you will never be able to move the amount of liquidity, and the assets already exist there. The other thing is CK is very is moving really fast, immature a lot, but there are a lot of different teams or perspectives where they marry a lot with one solution that, in our opinion, doesn't make too much sense. Because CK moves so fast that it's very difficult to tell which of these proving systems is actually going to win. So if you want to build something to lower the cost for an ecosystem that is moving really fast, you need to be pragmatic and build an infrastructure from scratch with that in mind. And that's what we did. We started from day one with the idea of being neutral. We do not care which proving system is going to win. We just want to offer fast and cheap verification and let the other teams who are building great tech in the proving side help developers get to the level where they feel comfortable using this tech. We are helping and accelerating their adoption as well. And in many cases, what we see is people marry or fall in love too much with the math or with the solutions that already exist, instead of being pragmatic and saying, okay, we don't know. The answer is we don't know yet which technology is going to win. We just know it's going to be important and it's accelerating. And that mindset, I think, is a big differentiator. I always say we're engineers. We are not in research, which is okay in many cases, but that means we want to build fast, and we want this to be now, and we will do whatever it takes to offer a good infrastructure for developers. And I think that our mindset and our approach is what is going to make us always different.
Nice. Sounds good. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah, thanks also from my side. I mean, that's a really compelling story, and I think it's very very nice to see that so many projects, be it Eigen or now also Aligned, start to build their own solution in order to accelerate Ethereum's roadmap. Because, yeah, as we outlined many times now in this discussion, Ethereum's kind of network effects and liquidity is super sticky, and I think it will not be different in the years ahead. So before we wrap up this nice discussion around Aligned, I love to get a sense of the current stage of development. I know you bootstrapped testnet 3, I think, recently. Maybe you could outline what's next on the horizon for Aligned, and also I know you guys, the pace is really special in Aligned. I know you are cooking like, let's say, almost nobody else in the space. So any exciting updates you like to share, strategic partnerships? I know they almost come day by day, but maybe anything special you want to share or milestones that you can disclose?
Yeah, currently we are in our third testnet. It's the first testnet that is the first one that is open for external operators, where we started having different companies running our infrastructure for this centralized network. It's already Koleski. Developers can already start using us and actually building applications on top of us. Right now, we are improving a lot of the examples and the documentation, so it's fairly easy for people to start playing around with us. And that's something that we're improving these next few days. And yeah, we build with urgency, so we are trying to be in mainnet as soon as possible. And we already had our first very strong use case where we will have more news in the future. I cannot spoil anything yet, but we're really excited because it's a great example of the power of Aligned, the power of this partner in particular, because the tech is really good, and why this partnership when people say it will say, oh, okay, this shows the value proposition of Aligned, and this is a great example of how you can start using more the tech of this partner. And that's something we're super excited about. And we believe a lot of people are going to be able to build new things on top of us. And the other thing is we have this hackathon that I mentioned, where we want to, using the same words, we want to accelerate the discovery of applications of Aligned and testing and finding things to improve with other people. So if anyone is going to Brussels, they can participate on this hackathon and help us align their proofs, basically.
I guess with Eigen and Aligned now allowing for all of this acceleration, we will soon get super dizzy of all of these new project kind of being enabled. Maybe one last thing: is there anything vastly important that we missed discussing? Otherwise, I would like to sum up. So, at least me, I learned a lot today. I hope the audience as well, and I bet Wolfgang too.
Yeah.
Especially how proof verification, while it's crushingly important for Ethereum, but it's also kind of the next bottleneck that we will face. And it's really nice to see that there's a line that comes in and tries to reduce cost and latency for proof verification and kind of removes that bottleneck. So overall, RJ and Diego, we really enjoyed the conversation with you guys a lot on behalf of Bitcoin Suisse and the audience. Thanks for sharing your time, your precious time. I know you're deep in building right now, so it's very much appreciated. And I guess we all had very valuable insights today of this very exciting project. From our side, best of success with the testnet. I hope you make major progress in the upcoming weeks and months. And to our viewers, if you're interested in learning more about Aligned, we will provide all of the necessary links in the show notes. And I guess any last words from you guys?
No, thank you very much for having us. We had a great time. I think we dived into the details, so that was fun. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, we're really approachable. We try to be friendly and help people join the space. So if you're a developer or a researcher and you want to learn more, you can join our Telegram or Discord, and we'll try to help you or guide you, or also receive feedback.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us here. Really enjoyed it. If you want to come and chat with us, feel free to reach out and talk to us. And hope to have more exciting news in the near future. And let's see the secret roadmap accelerate. So thanks a lot.
Thank you for the conversation, the insights, and yes, accelerate Ethereum. Let's go.
All right. Until next time, thanks for watching.